2.5 years ago, I made my first video regarding SeaWorld's rumored new for 2020 roller coaster. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was recording on this very desk I'm recording this video now, and I was sick, and I faked my voice to sound like I was healthy, and it was weird. I mean, it was a weird time for theme park hunting. Later, we then heard that this would be a one-of-a-kind Premier Rides launch coaster named Icebreaker. I was lucky enough to be able to go to the media announcement for this ride and sign the support back in September of 2019. As construction continued, we then saw that Icebreaker was going to be something special for SeaWorld Orlando. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the ride that was supposed to open in April of 2020 would be delayed significantly. We then saw the first test runs finally take place for this ride in February of 2021, yet it never opened. And finally, here we are in 2022. We got an opening date, and just the other day, I was lucky enough to get my first ever ride on Icebreaker. Thanks to Ace, also known as the American Coaster Enthusiast, I was able to ride numerous times for some of SeaWorld's press shoots that they were doing with some news outlets. And yeah, this ride is incredible. Let's just get that out of the way. Icebreaker did not disappoint by any means necessary. It fits perfectly into SeaWorld Orlando's lineup of attractions. SeaWorld advertises this ride as a family thrill coaster, and to be quite honest, that's the best way to describe it. The closest ride I would compare this to thrill-wise is Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens Tampa. If you were to shorten that ride and add a little more thrill, you have Icebreaker. The height requirement for this ride is only 48 inches, so most families can experience this coaster together. But now, let's just get right into the overall experience. As you approach the ride, you see this massive sign, and it is a great opener to the ride. At night, the sign even lights up too, and it adds so much ambiance to the area. The icebergs off to the side are another great touch, and really, this entrance is one of the best in SeaWorld Orlando. But the only unfortunate thing is that this will be the only theming you'll really be seeing on this ride. Some other small touches is some white paint that's supposed to look like frost, and you have some informational signs throughout the queue telling you about the Arctic. Once you finally walk up to the station, you step on the ride and pull down your lap bar restraint with a comfort collar. Now, I will say two things real quick. One, I love Premier Rides. For those who don't already know, I have been obsessing with Premier Rides for as long as I can remember. But I have never been a fan of their trains, and I don't really think anyone has. These are the best Premier trains that I've experienced, though. I know they haven't changed much since their last coaster edition, but the seats were pretty comfortable, and the comfort collars don't touch you at all. They've definitely improved on those comfort collars. We had to sit in the train for long periods of time, and at first, I was not looking forward to that. But honestly, I was comfortable. Much more comfortable than I've ever been on Tigris or Tempesto. The shin guards are always a negative touch for me personally, however, they've made it more comfortable for your legs now. So it's no longer the bulky foam bar that crushes your legs, it just ever so slightly presses on your legs. And another warning is the lap bar will come down on you throughout the ride, and if you get stapled, it is really, really uncomfortable, so try to avoid that. When the ride dispatches, you then load onto the transfer track and slowly move to the right till you line up with the launch track. And after not even 5 seconds of lining up with the launch track, you immediately launch backwards, which caught me off guard. I imagined it would take at least 5 to 10 seconds to get the train going, but nope, it just starts immediately, right out of the gate. On my first ride, I was in the back row, and when I was on the transfer track, I could not contain myself. It was just super surreal to actually be on it after all this time. So as it begins, it launches backwards, and this launch was surprising. The initial kick was pretty powerful for a slow launch, and you feel the acceleration till you go over the speed hill. After this, you dive down and launch a second time, again, another surprising launch, and head up the top hat. If you're in the front, the hang time is really good heading up that top hat. You then head back down into the third launch, and before this, the speed hills didn't really do anything. Now is where you really start to feel them. After this third launch, you're in the back, and you get a great pop of airtime heading up into that element, and then you head up into the iconic 100-degree beyond vertical spike. And wow, this spike was surprising. I feel like everyone slept on this element because the spike itself wasn't really that big. And in the front, it doesn't really do much, but no matter where you sit, the G-forces going up into the spike are surprisingly powerful. But in the back, the vertical hang time you get is awesome, and you get some great floater up there. For those who've done it, the best way to describe this floater is on Tower of Terror when it launches you up and you fall back down immediately. That's exactly what the spike feels like. It gives some great moment of floater airtime. After this awesome speed hill, again, you launch for the final time, and it's another powerful launch, probably the most powerful out of the four. You reach your top speed and go over the speed hill. Now, I know we've already been over the speed hill once, but let me just say, these front 3 rows over the speed hill for the last time, I firmly believe is the strongest pop of ejector airtime in the state of Florida. Obviously, till Iron Gwazi opens. It truly feels like an RMC pop. It's super quick, yet super powerful. Then you go into your top hat, which is just phenomenal. In the back, you get a nice pop going down, but in the front, the twist and pop at the top are really, really good. After you twist to the left, you enter 2 back-to-back bunny hills. Again, the airtime is incredible. Those 2 hills just fling you out of your seat. After this, you enter a sidewinder element, and honestly, this was probably the most forceful element on the ride. The turn up into this element is really intense, and the twisted hill that follows is really, really fun. After this, you enter your wave turn, which, to be completely honest, was probably the most underwhelming element on the ride, but personally, I expected this. So I'm not disappointed by any means. But know that out of all the elements on this ride, this one doesn't do much. After, you'll quickly twist to the right and head into your final airtime hill, which gives you some awesome airtime, and then climb up into the finish. Finally, you turn around and head back into the station and exit Icebreaker. So something I wasn't expecting at all is this ride, in my opinion, is a front row ride. While the back row is fun, the elements in the front just feel so much stronger. The speed hill, top hat, airtime hills, and sidewinder are all better in the front. The only elements that are really better in the back is the final airtime hill and the spike. Now, it seemed that a majority of people who rode it will agree with me on this, but I know a couple of people who preferred the back. I will say, if you want a tamer but more fun experience, definitely sit in the back. But if you want a crazy and snappy experience, then sit towards the front. Another thing I just want to point out is don't sleep on the middle car either. My rides there were really, really good as well. Now, I've been hyping up Icebreaker for a while, and after 11 rides, it's personally my number 2 coaster in the park, and it does rank highly for me. My first ride was disappointing, but that was also the first public train, so naturally it's going to be slow over time. Though after each run, it just kept getting faster and faster. So I can imagine that on a hot summer night in July, this thing is going to be a beast. Personally, I would take this over Journey to Atlantis, Manta, and Kraken, but Mako without a doubt is still the king of SeaWorld Orlando. So easily, this is my favorite coaster I've personally ridden by Premier Rides, and I would take this over rides like Diamondback and Thunderhead. And I know that's unpopular, but this ride is just an absolute blast. It really is just plain fun. It may be pretty short, but it really packs a punch in that small layout. So overall, Icebreaker is an amazing coaster, and as I said earlier, the perfect addition for SeaWorld Orlando. I know from everyone who's ridden it so far that this ride as a whole was a surprise. It exceeded expectations without a doubt. So whenever you can, I highly recommend heading over to SeaWorld Orlando to ride this new awesome roller coaster. I've been waiting to make this video for such a long time, so I am very happy that after all this time, I finally experienced it and I can share what I think with you guys. So that's going to be it for my review on Icebreaker at SeaWorld Orlando. If you want to know more about the entire experience I had, then check out my podcast On the Hunt, as we will have an episode covering everything about Icebreaker. And if you ever need non-copyrighted off-ride footage or POVs, check out my second channel, TPH Productions. As always, this is Hunter from Theme Park Hunting. I'll see you guys later, and follow the thrill.